Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I'm here right on time to start our self-worth masterclass. So I'm going to just wait a couple of minutes and just open up my copy of the workbook so I can work through it with you guys and give you a bit of a chance to come on as well. Hi, Kim. Hi, Kimberly. I get a bit when I'm excited, a bit high-pitched. I'll chill out as I get into my stuff. Hi, JD. Welcome, welcome. I'm just opening up a copy of the workbook so that I can be going through that at the same time with you guys. So if you haven't seen that yet, just head into the group and grab yourself a copy. So I've put it in there as a Word document. Hello, hello. If you're sort of a bit of a typer, you want to type through it. Hello. Hi, beautiful. How wonderful. And I've also put it in there as a PDF. I'm more of a write my thoughts kind of a person, so I tend to print these things out. So just grab yourself a copy. Hey, Nikki and Debbie, you've made it in your workday. Fantastic. I'll just give people another minute or so to come on, and then we'll get started, because like I said in the video I posted yesterday, I had approximately a million ideas of things I wanted to put into this hour, and I'm really happy with how I've condensed it down but I've got a sheet of things that I want to work through with you. These are my little notes. Just let me know if you've decided to download that workbook. Just let me know that if that's happened easily for you, or if you need any help or support from me before we get started. I'll do my own hold music. All right. I literally could do my own hold music and amuse myself for who knows how long. So, oh, okay. So Kimberly's asking, where was the workbook? She's trying to find it. So if you go into the Cultivate Soul Deep Happiness group, the last two posts before this live video. So if you come out of the video, that's okay. You can just come straight back in. If you get if you lose the video, yeah, just go back out, and there's a PDF copy is the most recent post before this video, and the one before that, which happened kind of about half an hour ago, is the Word document. Debbie, thank you. Debbie's downloaded the workbook and she's ready to go. So let me know how you go, Kimberly, and just let me know that you've got it if you need any other support. If not, I can message it to you in Messenger if that's what we need to do, but I'll do that after our class. She's got it. Yay. All right, cool. It is 11:04, so I want to get started, so I'm doing what I say I'm going to do and starting pretty much on time. So first of all, I want to say thank you so much, just from the depths of me, for being here with me today and for being willing to explore this topic. So looking at our levels of self-worth can be quite confronting, and it can also be juicy and wonderful, like giving you a big hug. So wherever you are now in your levels of self-worth, just know that it's always something worthwhile to look at and investigate. So even if you feel really great, it's a little bit like every now and again, check in with your insurance companies, check in with the competition, and maybe you could be saving hundreds of dollars you don't know about if you don't check. And in terms of self-worth, it's always a good thing to check in, because wherever we are in our life becomes the new normal. And I have this with clients all the time. I'll be seeing them week to week, and I go, how's your week? I'm like, oh, not much happened. And when we dig into the week, it's like, oh, wow, you handled that situation totally differently. Wow, you said no to that, where previously you would have honored everyone else over you. You did this, you did this. And so I see the changes, but for the clients, it becomes their new normal. And so your level of self-worth at the moment is your normal. And just like really noisy traffic noise, we tend to habituate as human beings to whatever the normal is. And that period of going back, checking in and seeing where you're at and whether things can improve is worthwhile to do wherever you're at. If you're not feeling great in your levels of self-worth, well, then you'll just get even more from our lesson today. So first of all, I'm really, really happy that you're here and you're spending this hour to invest in beautiful, beautiful you. And I'm really honored and excited that you're doing that with me. Okay, so my first thing that I want to say is that self-worth is an inside job, right? So when our levels of self-worth are not optimal, let's say, it's a nice way to talk about something that can be quite painful, but let's just say it like that, we tend to attract relationships that are totally in alignment with that lack of self-worth. I know that was my journey when I didn't have that sense of self-worth and self-esteem. Every one of my relationships mirrored that back to me. And it's very easy when you're in a situation like that to get sort of into imagining that things would be better for you if that person out there just valued you more. Like things would be better if someone outside of you treated you differently or saw your worth or behaved differently, valued you more, loved you more, saw you more. We can also, if we don't have people necessarily around us, if that low self-worth has created a distance between you and other people, we can also get into that habit of thinking, well, I'd be feeling better about myself if someone new came into my life and saw me, loved me, held me. That would make me feel better about myself. The problem with both of those things is you're waiting on people outside of you that maybe you know or maybe you don't know yet to treat you differently so that you're able to feel better about you. What I want to do first and foremost in this class is meet you, see you, and love you, and put your self-worth into the hands of the one person on earth that's got total control over how worthy you feel. And that person is beautiful you. So we want to honor that every single human being on earth, I've never seen an exception to this rule, thrives in connection. Now, your fullest connection might just be being seen, known, loved, and adored by one person. And someone else might have that more of a kind of fill a hole for your birthday kind of connection. So everyone has a different number of connections, a different level of social connection that we need to feel whole. That's part of being individual. But everyone thrives with a connection, even if it's just one, where you feel full and total permission to be you and you're seen, known, and loved in that. And in order to have, runny nose, sorry, it's not very sexy, is it? In order to have that kind of connection, you really do need to see, know, love, and value you. Otherwise, you just don't have self-permission to open up that cloak of armor and self-protection and actually be seen. In the video yesterday, I put a quote by Brene Brown, and she says, this is in her Netflix special she's got on at the moment, which is a talk of hers. And the quote is, "True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are." And that is what I want this class to be about. And knowing that no one outside of you can give you permission to do that. It really does come from you. I want to talk about two things. This is just the frame up for the content we're going to go through. The first is, well, the next thing is that soul deep happiness, which if you've heard me talk before, soul deep happiness is that congruency, mind, body, heart, and soul all saying yes to your life circumstances. Soul deep happiness and self-worth are holistic. So there is a mind, body, heart, soul component, and it's also individual. And that individual piece is super important in my work, because when you're authentically being you and valuing you, you're going to show up as beautiful, unique you, and you are as individual as your own fingerprints, and so am I. So what feels like worth, what feels like your fullest expression of you is going to be different for all of us. And that's why my work is about breaking down those barriers that you have between who you think you should be and who you truly are. Because when you're being who you truly are and you value that, honestly, magic happens in every one of your life circumstances, relationships, your health, the connection you have with your body, your finances, your career, your work in the world. Like, everything changes, and you end up, it feels like you've won energy tax lotto, because it's so draining to continue pouring energy into something that you're not. It's a little bit like how much energy it would take to try and get a tropical plant to thrive down here in Victoria, Australia, where like it's been 8 degrees Celsius for most of my morning. It's like, imagine the energy that you'd need to try and get that to happen, and the thing would probably drop dead anyway. So there is no right answers to anything that I ask you today. There's no uniform idea about what self-worth is. It's individual. So the only right answer is the answer that is right for you. So like I said, self-worth is a state of being, a way of thinking, acting, behaving. It's an energy, and it is a combination. Any state of being is a mind, body, heart, soul state of being. And so for that, we're going to have to look at those areas, and we're also going to have to get practical. So we can read books and stories and have a great idea about self-worth, but if we don't bring it into the three-dimensional world, if we don't bring it through our program and through our way of being, if we don't get practical with it, it just remains a good idea and nothing actually changes. If you have any questions at any point throughout this workshop, just type it in the comments. I'm pretty sure I'm following those live, so just let me know how you go. And we're not at the worksheet yet. Yeah, so we need to get practical, right? You are driving this vehicle through your life. Your body is the vehicle. You're in control of the destination of where you're going. So you're the driver, and you also get to write the map. So in order to get practical, we've got to ask some questions. And the basic coaching frame of that is, where are you now? Where are you now in your levels of self-worth? Where would you like to be, or where do you imagine that you would like to be? And then our job is, let's plot the path in between. Where are you now? Where would you like to be? And let's get practical with the steps that are in between. So let's hit the worksheet. All right. It's so interesting. So opening up your worksheet, the very first question in there is, how do you define self-worth? And the more coaching-y question in there is, how would you know if you were there? Because I cannot tell you how many people I meet that want a certain thing. So maybe they might want financial freedom, or they might want a great relationship, or they might want something, and it's almost like an abstract comment. And until I go, okay, well, what would that look like? What would financial freedom mean for you? You know, it would mean, I could walk on the beach every morning, and I could do this and I could do that. And half the stuff that they want, they could actually do now already. So it's like, if we look at self-worth, how do you define that? What would self-worth, what does it mean to you? And if you'd arrived, so if you were, if you're in my age group or above, you'll understand the kind of bewitched magic nose. If I could magic nose you into your perfect levels of self-worth, how would you define that? What would it, do you know what I mean? What would it be like? How would you know that you'd arrived? And I want you to really sit with that and see if you can get practical with it. And feel free to type in there any questions that you've got, or if you want to share what self-worth would be for you. While you're writing, I'm going to trust that you can multitask, and I'll just be the background noise. And I'll share a bit what self-worth means for me, because I have plotted the path myself from virtually no self-worth whatsoever and all of the relationships and circumstances that go with that, to now a place where I feel truly blessed to be living the life I'm living, and so grateful for Aisha of the past, for everything she did to get me here. So self-worth for me was about being comfortable in my body. So that was a massive part of my journey, feeling happy and grateful about this vehicle that I've got to experience life in, instead of all that other yucky judgment and awful meanness that I used to have about my body. So it's comfort in my body. It means that if a great song comes on at the supermarket, I'm happy to have a little bit of a bop, and it never really occurs to me whether anyone's looking at me or not. So I'm not self-conscious in that way in my body, which feels really great. Self-worth for me also means that I am willing to invest in me in the same way that I invest in my children and people that I care about. So it used to be that people that were in my life, I would pour out, I'd metaphorically bleed to death for them, but I wouldn't give anything to me. I was treating myself really badly and treating everyone else around me like they were, the queen or king of the world. So meeting everyone else's needs over my own. Whereas now, my needs are in the mix of people that I care about. And I know in my gorgeous little family, it's really important for me to be honoring me. So that means I get to invest in, like 2 weeks ago, I spent a week with Dr. Joe Dispenza at a 7-day, soul food retreat where I got to feed my mind with new information, which feeds my work, which is soul food for me. It means that I've got permission to live in alignment with my values and invest in whatever ways I need to for that. So they're just some ideas that come kind of front of mind for me, but I'm interested in what self-worth means for you. I think if there's anything else I want to say. The other thing that self-worth has meant in my life is that my relationships are completely different. So it means that I value me, I honor me. We really do train people how to treat us. And I know that's a hard thing to accept if you're in substandard relationships. It's so easy to go, well, they're to blame for treating me badly. But there are people on earth that will treat you as badly as you let them get away with. And when you shift the way that you operate, the relationships change. So I'll give you a basic example just so that we're talking about something concrete. So it's like if you've got, I'll give you a client example. I had a client, and her friend, whenever they got together, my client was always picking that friend up and doing all the driving. So even if they were going somewhere close to her house, she would backtrack, pick up the friend, come back past her house, go to the thing, come back past her house, drop her off. It's just what she trained the friend to accept, and it was upsetting her. And so when they made their next plan, like we did some work, we did some self-esteem, we looked at boundaries, and this was just one of the many examples where she was not honoring her or not training people into more of a fairness. She basically trained everyone around her not to consider her needs at all. And so the next time they had a plan that was near, past her house, she just said to the friend, and it had never occurred to her to do before, but she just said to the friend, oh, hey, that's kind of near my house. How about you drive this time, swing by, pick me up, and you can drop me off on your way home. And it was easy. The friend just went, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And bang, the relationship changed from, you know, my client considering her in the mix of people to consider. So that's like a really inane, not super important example, but that's how it's done. You know, like, okay, I'm doing this. How about you do that? Like, it's just speaking about your needs. And when we change how we are and how we operate and what we ask for and what we express, it really does change the dance of all of our relationships. And just take my word for it, because I've seen it in my own life. Relationships that I've still got from my no self-esteem to my beautiful self-esteem now, the relationships are unrecognizable. And I brought that change. And in fact, the relationships are closer. We all benefit from me being more of me. Okay, so we're going to move on. Question 2 on the worksheet is, where are your less than optimal levels of self-worth impacting you the most? And again, just let me know. Share with me your thoughts. Type me a comment. I'm pretty sure, I'm just scrolling through, I'm pretty sure I'm getting these live. Hello, Oliver. Yeah, so where are your less than optimal levels of self-worth impacting you the most? So have a think about it, write your answer, and just kind of tune me out if you're tuning into your answer. Where I see it in my work is primarily around relationships, is where I see it show up a lot. So the relationship people have with themselves, how they're willing to treat themselves, is often very indicated in their levels of self-worth and the kind of relationships that they surround themselves with. So that can be a big one. It can certainly show up in how we treat our body. So I know I've had a lot of clients with health challenges, and if one of their children has a health challenge, they're like in it, boots and all, and they've got all the right, you know, supplements, and they're cooking the right stuff, and they're going to the appointments, and there's this amazing buy-in to get that loved one healthy. But when they have their own health challenge, it's like, maybe they go to the appointment, they don't go to the next one, they don't follow the advice they get, they don't do the exercises they're meant to. There's not that willingness to give themselves what they need. So there's can be a disparity in terms of caring for other people's health and circumstances and not their own. I see low levels of self-worth showing up with money and career. So work that's meaningful and earning money that makes life easier isn't like in the top 10 values for everyone, but when it is in your top 10 values and you stay somewhere, you stay in a workplace where you're, you know, the culture's not great, or you're not getting your needs met in terms of maybe it's not challenging, or maybe it's not, you know, you're not getting paid enough, or maybe you're not, you know, you're not thriving. There's lots of different ways not to thrive. It's individual, like I said at the start. But that low levels of self-worth, I see that happening in jobs a lot. So overworked and underpaid, or, you know, doing 3 people's jobs and someone else leaves, and, you know, I've had clients that they take on all those tasks too, but for no extra money. Let me know if you're connecting with any of this. But yeah, I see it show up in relationships, in how we allow ourselves to be treated and how we treat ourselves, our body, our work, our finances, how much we're willing to invest in our own potential, I guess, would be the main areas that come to mind. And probably how much escapism we do. There's something deeply comforting about standing in the truth of you and really honoring who you are. There's a lot less escapism that's necessary. And so it just kind of let that float through as well. So Oliver, we are on question 2 of the worksheet. The worksheet I posted in the group before this video. So I put it in as a Word document and as a PDF. So just let me know if you've got it so that you're following what we're up to. So now that you've got a sense of, well, what would self-worth be for me? How would I know if I was there? If I could magic wand Harry Potter you into just optimal levels of self-worth, what would it be like? And just go there for a moment, even if it's in your imagination. Maybe imagine someone who's similar to you that's got a lot of self-worth and self-esteem. Just think, oh, what would that be like if you can't quite bring it up for yourself? And I want you to ask yourself this question. If your level of self-worth was at optimal levels, what would the new thoughts, actions, and behaviors be for you in your life? What would be different? How would it be different? And I'm asking you because for anything that's going to take some effort, it's so important to know your why. Why are you doing it? Because if you're not connected to why it's a good thing to have more self-worth, then you're probably not going to take the action that we're going to be talking about. So you want to know why. Why is it worth the effort or the attention? Why is it worth giving my energy to cultivating self-worth? What's it going to give me? What's going to be different? What new thoughts am I going to have about myself and about life? What new actions am I going to take from those thoughts? And what's my daily behavior going to be like, coming from a place of that really solid, self-loving sense of self-worth? What's it going to be like? And share your thoughts with me. If you've got any questions, I'm here to help and to answer. How did you go, Oliver, downloading that workbook? Have you got that? Just scrolling to make sure I haven't missed any comments. I don't think so. Okay. So I'll give you an example, just so I'm not sitting here, staring at myself, from my experience. And you've got it downloaded. Fabulous. Thank you. So for me, let's go back 20 plus years. I'm 43 now. When I was 19, I started investigating the mind-body energy connection. When I was 21, I became a Reiki practitioner and started really learning about metaphysics and intention. And from 21 to current day, I've invested in pretty much every training that I've ever come across. If I've had a practitioner session that was amazing, I went and learnt what they did. And I've got a solid history of holistic counseling, intense metaphysics training, life coaching, NLP, and lots of other things. Lots of things. Lots of things. But from kind of that 21 first practitioner training until I was 27, say, I was sitting in jobs that weren't a real match for my values. My self-esteem wasn't where I am right now. And I would dream of one day doing what I'm doing now. Well, what I'm doing now is actually beyond my greatest dreams, but I would dream about helping people the way that I'd been helped. But my last job before I started my business, I was working for a pharmaceutical company. Some of the stuff they did was great. A lot of the stuff they did was totally against my value set for what a company like that could be doing. And so I was sitting in that job in a relationship that matched my current levels of self-esteem, which did drop away as that self-esteem increased. It could have come along with me, it just didn't. And if I was to answer this question, what levels of, if my self-worth was at optimal levels, what would the new thoughts, actions, and behaviors be? Well, I could have said to you, the new thoughts would be like, I'd be sitting there thinking, oh, I wish I had the confidence to do like what my teachers are doing or that practitioner's doing. So the new thoughts would be something like, I can do this too. I could do this too. I could take my passion for helping people, and instead of it being this little thing that I'm doing on the weekends and, at night with some people, I could actually make that my career. I can do it would be the new thought. I'm good enough. I give myself permission to learn and to grow. I've got value, I've got things to offer. And the action would then have been putting myself out there and, share advertising, doing public talk, sharing what I know. And the new behavior would be that I would have had this business a lot earlier. So the way that we think, I'm just trying to give you a concrete example. So if your levels of self-worth, let's magic them there, visit the future where your levels of self-worth are as amazingly grounded and embodied and wonderful as you can imagine, what are the new thoughts that you'd be thinking? Debbie's sharing, sounds familiar, taking on more at work than being paid for. It's something to really have a think about, Debbie, because there is, I think of that. There's a picture actually in this book that's a lady with the plates on sticks, that circus act of plates on sticks. And when we have low self-esteem, people throw us another plate and we're just doing it and we're doing it and we're doing it and we're exhausted and we're getting drained, but it doesn't actually occur to us to go, oh, hey, you guys over there that don't even have one plate, how about you take that plate, you take that plate, you take that plate. I'm happy to still have these 5, but I'll have, do you know what I mean? I'll have these days off, or like, I'm just giving a silly example, but it's just about, we don't necessarily even look for how to make things fair. And our bosses don't really know. If you just become the yes person, they just think you're a superstar. And if they've not done your job, they don't understand that you're overloaded. It's our job as the person with self-love and self-respect and self-worth to go, oh, hey, thank you for giving me that extra work. I just want you to know there's no way that I can do that and that and that and that and that. So what do you want me to drop, or what do you want me to pass on to someone else? Like, what's the priority here? Because all of this isn't doable. And you can do that with absolutely no stress, and that's how self-worth can manifest in a too much work for the hours I've got kind of situation. So how are you guys going with that question? If your levels of self-worth were at optimal, best you can imagine levels, what new thoughts would you be thinking? Because how we think generates how we feel. If you're thinking, I'm too fat to do that, I'm too dumb to do that, I'm not as good at so-and-so, so I've got a whole lot of work to do before I can even imagine walking out the door and doing that. I can't do that because of this. Those kinds of thoughts generate heavy, armored, not good enough blurk. Yeah. Whereas when we're thinking, you know what, if they've done it, so can I. Where am I now? Where would I like to be? What's the path in between? What support would I need? I only get better at things as I practice. Practicing is the only way to get better at anything. What could I practice that would move me in the direction of my dreams? Can you feel how that opens up a door? One of my favorite prefixes to put into affirmations is saying, I'm in the process of. So you might, and I've got a song on one of my CDs. It's I'm in the process of loving myself more. That works so much better for the unconscious mind than I love myself, when your brain then goes, oh no, you don't, look at that bit, or that's gross. You're an idiot, they broke up with you, this, that, whatever. You've got this whole story about how you're not good enough. So you can put, the new thoughts might be, you know what, I'm in the process of developing the rock solid self-esteem, self-worth that I need to live my dreams. It's like all of a sudden that opens things up. And if that was your thoughts, I'm in the process, well, your actions might match those thoughts. You might take some actions towards that. Is that all making sense? I know some of you are driving and doing other things, so it's okay to listen to classes like this, like a podcast. But for those of you that are on with me live and you've got your keyboard, then feel free to ask me questions. But I want you to have that sense of, okay, if I was there, what would the thoughts be? I have a metaphor I use also in this book where I talk about your internal dialogue like a radio station. So when you're listening to I'm crap, life's crap, life is crap, everything's hard, FM, the radio station, we pretty much have actions and behaviors that match that. When we're listening to I'm in the process of loving myself more, or I'm, you know what, life's getting better and better all the time, FM, then we're focused in another direction. So I just want you to really, really think about that, because how we think generates how we feel. And how we feel generates how we act and react. When you're feeling good, you've got a really long fuse before you go, you're feeling good, you're feeling resourced. The way that we're able to act, what we're able to access in terms of resources is totally different to when we're listening to a different kind of radio station. We're unresourced. The gap between incident and is tiny. And then that comes with a whole lot of self-judgment too. So I just want you to really feel, you know what, I'm in the driver's seat of this. And how I think is going to impact my actions and my behaviors. All right, so we're going to move on to question 4. So your thoughts and your actions and behaviors are different. You've got a sense of what they are. What new feelings would this create? So if you're there, we've got question 3, you're in this optimal levels of self-worth, we've magicked you there into the future, you've arrived. You're thinking in a new way, you're acting in a way that mirrors those thoughts, and you're behaving kind of reliably, regularly, with life's ups and downs, with this beautiful sense of self-worth. How's that going to feel? So the purpose of all these questions is to connect you with your why. How's it going to feel? How's it going to feel to be there? Because I can tell you the difference between sitting behind my desk at a pharmaceutical company and sitting behind my desk with you guys right now, and with the 20 or so people that are going to listen to it in the group over the next few days, and who knows what I'll do with this class in the future and who might access it. The difference between sitting at this desk with the 2 books that I've written and the classes I run and the kind of transformational work I get to do with people and myself, it is like, it's so deep, happy and satisfied. I've been so excited all morning just to get on here and share with you. I didn't feel that when my alarm went off or when I had a very different job. I didn't feel it. So what new feelings is there going to be in your life? And share with me. It might be more joy. It might be more peace. It might be more connection, feeling more connection between you and the divine, or you and your loved ones because you've let them in, or you've brought new people into your life that see you, know you, value you because you value you. You might be feeling more abundant. I feel more abundant and supported by life for no reason whatsoever, just walking outside and feeling the rain on my skin or the sun on my skin or my body's ability to walk and move. I feel so abundant and joyous in my life because there's so much space to feel those beautiful feelings. So what would the feelings be for you? When you're thinking in a self-honoring, self-worthy way, when you're acting from that way and having the changes that would happen when you're behaving in that way, how would it feel for you? Do you connect with how I'm saying it, or is it something really different for you? Perhaps you'd be feeling more satisfied because what you're putting your energy into just feels so worthwhile because it matches the truth of who you are. Okay, so we're going to come in now to question 5. And you can feel my excitement. There was lots of words in here. So I'm going to read it for those of you that don't have the workbook in front of you. So I've written here, your mind, body, heart, and soul can be a congruent alliance. Yeah, all saying yes to your life and circumstances. in this new state of being, so thoughts, actions, behaviors, and feelings, what new options would become available? Yeah, what would be possible in your life? What kinds of changes do you think would happen naturally or with less effort than ever before? So just feel into that congruency, right? Mind, body, heart, and soul, all saying yes to life, feeling that deep confidence that comes from cultivating genuine, individually honoring self-worth. What new options would become available? And it's going to depend on how you answered question 2. So where your less than optimal levels of self-worth are really impacting you the most, that's probably going to show up in this question 5. So for me, using that job example, what new actions become available? Like, it means that I'm willing to reach out, like I did before the happiness recipe was published, with this American podcaster. And I got in touch with him and said, look, I think I'm a great fit for your show. Here's what I'm all about. And he interviewed me. It's a massive podcast. We've recorded it already, but it's going to come out in June. And that's part of what I'm doing, is building. I have a beautiful little network of engaged people that are in this group and on my mailing database that are in America, and I'm building an American audience because I'm planning to take the kids over there, and we're going to do, or not we, I'm going to do some talking and workshops and have part of my business happening over there. Now, that idea would never have occurred to me without self-worth. So what becomes available? Sometimes I know, when I invest in myself and my business, I do that from a place of self-worth, knowing I can get a return on investment because I'm in the driver's seat of what results I get. So I would never put, like $20,000 into a training like I have in the past if I didn't think that I'd be able to make that something amazing for myself and all my clients that I can pass that on to. So I'm just trying to give you examples. So when your body, heart, mind, and soul are a congruent alliance and they're really fed, like the most beautiful fertilizer in the world for life growth is self-worth, what new options would become available? Feel into it. What opens up? Because I'll tell you what opens up. The life of your dreams opens up, and the self-permission to experiment. Like, okay, where am I now? Where do I want to be? Life of my dreams. The self-permission to take those actions and explore and ask for help and be supported. That's what opens up. And when you get here to life of your dreams, then self-worth allows you to plant another tree and develop a new life of your dreams. What kind of changes do you think would happen naturally? I know from myself and from watching this process with so many human beings. I haven't done a count of how many clients I've worked with, but hundreds or maybe up to 1,000. I'm not sure. It's been 16 years in business, so it's been a lot of people, certainly into the thousands if we include people I've spoken to in audiences and workshops. So I've seen what happens to relationships when you invest in you. I've seen it. And I've lived it myself, but I've seen the changes. And I know some of you that are on this call have either done that work with me, or you know what can change as well when you invest in you. There's a few of you actually. Yeah. Hey, Rachel. So Rachel, we've just been through question 5 that's on the workbook. If you go into Cultivate Soul Deep Happiness, the workbook is there as a Word document or a PDF. So you're welcome to download that and type into it or or print it off if you don't have it already. Let me know if you have any problems and I'll help you out. And we're up to question 5. And this recording just stays live in the group, so you can go back and check out whatever you want to when we're finished. It's really important to understand your why. That's why we've spent so much time really feeling into what self-worth gives you. Otherwise, when there's an option between kind of sleeping in or tuning off or escapism and building your self-worth, you're going to choose that thing. So we want you to really understand what self-worth can give you in a very practical way, as well as, you know, in terms of full congruence, mind, body, heart and soul, what self-worth going to do. So like I said at the start, we're really plotting that path of where are you now, where would you like to be, what would be great about being here, and what's in between. So in terms of the path in between, that's what we're going to spend the rest of this class doing. We're going to look at this gap between where are you now and where would you like to be and what's in between. And we're going to look at that from the perspective of mind, body, heart and soul. And we're going to start with your mind. So moving on to question 6 in the workbook, I'm going to ask you, where are you placing your focus, your mental focus? So in the workbook, I've written in here the 2 types of motivation. So we have away from motivation and towards motivation. And I'm going to explain what those things mean and why it's important to get you moving into the towards motivation, right? So let me give you an example of weight loss, right? Just to pick something out of the blue. Could be the same for weight gain. If you feel like you're too skinny, it can be the same for anything. We just need to have an example, so we're not talking concepts. So maybe right now, so this is, everything's backwards in the camera, so it's opposite to what my hands are doing, which is terribly confusing. Okay, so away from motivation would be, so right now I feel fat, ugly, disgusting, yuck, and I want to feel less like that, right? So I want to get away from feeling awful. And so we take some actions to feel less fat, ugly, disgusting, and awful. These are some of the things that I have called myself in the, 2 decades ago when I didn't love me, right? And the thing with away from motivation is we take some action, but it's fueled by self-rejection. And there's 2 problems with that. The first thing is, as soon as you get far enough away from feeling awful, the motivation ends. We pretty much just stop and end up back there, because there's not that focus on how awful you feel because you're starting to feel better. That's what you are using for motivation. Action stops. So that's the first problem. The second problem is that your mind and your focus is incredibly powerful as a tool in your life. And when you're doing something, even if it's something good for you, like exercising or eating well, but if you're doing that fueled by feeling disgusting, fueled by self-rejection, fueled by hatred, you're actually just pumping hatred, rejection, and negative energy into your body. And you're basically going to be attracting more of that. When you're motivated by not good enough, you're going to just be tracking for not good enough the whole time. And so you might feel less fat, ugly, and disgusting, but I guarantee you'll be tracking for, well, I'm not doing that well, I'm not doing that well, and I'm not doing that well, and I didn't parent that well, and I didn't do that well. You're just tracking for not good enough. And our mind and our focus is so, so powerful that you don't want to be focused on that stuff. It isn't self-honoring. And even if you used away motivation to feel less fat, ugly, and disgusting, you're still not going to be feeling well. You're still not going to be feeling great about yourself. It cannot cultivate self-worth. It just can't. So what we want to do is pivot your attention towards motivation. So in the weight loss example, let's say the goal is, I want to be feeling energized and wonderful in my body, or I want to be feeling sexy and fabulous. I want to have more energy, whatever it is, whatever the goal is. Oh, Oliver has said levels of self-worth would increase my manifestation of joy and flow, perhaps. Absolutely, that's so true. Kimberly's saying her connection's playing up, so you'll have to do that again. Well, welcome when you come back again, Kimberly, and just tag me in any comments if you're not asked a question. Oliver's saying, when I think about it deeply, I imagine that I would be doing the same activities, study, work, and creative endeavors, but maybe I would just be free from doubt that sometimes comes in. Oliver, that's absolutely true. And doubt is such an energy drainer, and doubting yourself cannot cultivate and develop self-worth. It just can't. They don't go together. It's okay if you don't know something, but self-worth allows you to go, okay, I don't have any experience in this. Pivoting towards motivation, how can I learn? Who could I learn from? What support would I need? And I love myself enough to get that support. So thank you so much for sharing. Hi, Elizabeth. So we're talking about away from motivation and why it doesn't work, and towards motivation. Well, it works, but not to create anything great, and definitely not to create self-worth, and towards motivation. So if you're towards motivation, for that weight loss example, is I want to feel energized. I want to wake up with energy, right? So that's the goal. If you were focused towards that and you were taking some actions and you were feeling less blurky and starting to feel good, the closer you get towards your goal, the more motivated you feel, the more inspired you feel, the better you feel. So it actually works to continue being energized by your goal, and it has that amazing resource of mind and energy focused on something great, which is waking up in the morning feeling energized and alive, or having energy for life. So can you feel the difference? Your mind and your ability to focus is such a powerful tool that you have to guide your life, because you are the driver of your life. And so we want to get you focused on towards motivation. So this is the mind part of how you can get on board with cultivating more self-esteem. What are you heading towards? And you know what you're heading towards from the answers of the questions that you filled in. Elizabeth, there's a workbook that I popped in the group for this, which you can, if you go back and get that out of the group, if there's a PDF or a Word document, so you can follow through and answer your questions and let me know if you've got any questions. So yeah, we want you focused towards, we want you listening to radio stations inside your mind that are positive and helpful. If you think about the power of parenting. So if you've got two parents and one of them is constantly telling their kids, you're not good enough, you're fat, you're lazy, you're useless, you're dumb, you're this, you're that. Think of the worst things that you say to yourself when you're not in a place of self-worth, and imagine a parent saying that to a child, molding them into thinking that they're just not good enough, they're a loser, they're whatever, all that, whatever you can imagine saying to yourself. Imagine saying that to a child, and then imagine the difference with a parent doing towards motivation and listening to positive radio stations, programming their child to go, you know what, the only way you get better at things is to practice. So you know what, I believe in you, let's have a go, let's learn this thing. You're good enough. You're wonderful. I love that loving heart. I celebrate that you're willing to try things. I'm proud of you, right? As an adult, we get to parent ourselves. We're listening to our own inner dialogue and cultivating low self-esteem every single day with our focus, or cultivating self-respect, even if it's I'm in the process of learning how to value myself more. I know that with continued practice, I'm going to get there. Can you feel the difference? There's so many people that get stuck in, I was parented this way and it's my parents' fault that I feel awful. And that's useful to a point. But you know what? Draw a line in the sand today and decide to parent yourself. You get to take charge of your internal dialogue and give yourself new messages. You get to choose the radio station. So let's pivot you towards what you want. I've got a little space in the workbook to just really get clear on what your away from language is. What do you say to yourself when you're motivating yourself with, this is yuck and I need to be less yuck? Get really clear. Like with the weight loss example, I said, you know, oh, I need to be less fat and less ugly, and I'm tired and I'm this and I'm that, and I need to be less of that. Get really clear on what you say to yourself and write out some towards language. So you're just getting used to it. Think of this like a language class. And so we're learning, oh, where's the radio station? My name is this. You know, what's the time, please? We're just putting the basics in. The way you learn a language is by writing it, by speaking it, and by practicing it. So practice that towards language. And if you have any questions, ask me. If you're watching this afterwards, tag me and ask me, because I'm sharing all this with you because I want you to just step into the vehicle of life as the powerful, magnificent being you are, and start driving to where you want to go, because all of us have that power. Every single adult has the power of free will, and it's magnificent when you own it. So we're going to move on now to question 7. So how will your higher, stronger self-worth be reflected in your body? So what we're doing is plotting a path towards, okay? And you get to choose what areas you focus on, or whether you focus on all of them. But how is it going to be reflected in your body? What if we magicked you forward like what we've been doing, and your levels of self-worth were optimal? Where would your health be? Your physical health? Where would there be any changes to your lifestyle? What would your feelings be about your physical self, about this vehicle that you've got to explore life in? These amazing, magnificent fusion of mind, body, heart, and soul, this miracle of physiological engineering that smells, tastes, can touch, can see, can hear, can sense life. Like, these bodies are amazing. How are you going to feel about your body? How are you going to honor your vehicle? And maybe you're really good at doing that. So maybe you'd just be doing it from a place of self-honoring rather than self-rejecting, or maybe you're already really rocking that bit. But just ask yourself, what would it be like? How would I be with my body? And we're just plotting that path. Where am I now? Where do I want to be? What's in between? I'm going to give you a minute to just tap into that. You're welcome to share with me, or just keep this as an internal process. You're the boss of you, so you get to choose. We're going to move on to question 8, and that is, how will that higher, stronger sense of self-worth be reflected in your heart? So if you're not driving a car or doing something where it'd be dangerous to close your eyes, just close your eyes for a moment, put your hand on your heart and feel. When I am sitting in a place of self-worth, how's that going to be for your heart? You know, our hearts have such capacity and such wisdom, but without self-worth, when you're just in your heart, you can give and give and give and give to your own detriment without ever having a boundary, and without ever putting yourself in the mix of people that you need to love and care for. And it's depleting. This is one of the many, many causes of burnout. And if you don't know what I mean, find someone who's a carer and talk to them. Yeah, because a carer with really strong levels of self-worth and self-esteem is in a very different place to someone that's a carer that just gives and gives and gives and gives and gives, and doesn't have that center to come back to and set boundaries and care for themselves as well as who they're caring for. I know I was a carer for a very sick girlfriend for a year of my life, and honestly, it nearly killed me. It was the most exhausting year of my life. And it taught me a great deal. Yeah, so imagine your heart supported by boundaries and self-honoring. Honestly, our hearts are so big, you can fit the whole world in your heart. We are amazing beings, and human beings are born knowing how to love. And we're born knowing what we need. That's why babies cry out, because they've got a need and they're sharing it. If you go into an orphanage, an understaffed orphanage somewhere, the babies have learned not to cry out because no one is meeting their needs. The orphanages are quiet. Isn't that devastating? Even as babies, they've learned, I can express my need, but no one is coming. And that happens for us too, even if we weren't in an orphanage. But you are born knowing how to love, knowing how to connect, knowing how to feel, and knowing how to ask for what you want. We're born with it. And I want you to come back to that wisdom. So how will that higher, stronger sense of self-worth be reflected in your heart? What would it be like? What would it be like living with love and compassion grounded in self-worth? I've got one more question. I can't, it's these hours of sharing my things go so quickly. So our last question, as I said to you, we're going to get pivoted, we're going to get focused on that sense of self-worth and what changes you want to make, and we're going to get practical, and we're going to do it body, mind, heart, soul. So our last question is about your soul. Now, all of my work from 20 years ago, when I was seeing people working full-time and seeing people on the side, and for the last 16 years of running Holistic Vitality, my business where I help people one-on-one and in groups, my work has always been holistic. So if you're in a group called Cultivate Soul Deep Happiness, I'm going to assume that you've got a belief system that includes energy, that includes soul, that includes purpose of some kind, or a higher energy, a higher force. And your soul already sees and knows your worth. As you embrace this worth, following your heart and using your mind and body as the amazing tools for empowerment that they are, your soul and its wisdom is able to play a larger, more purposeful role in your life. That's what happens. There's space for it. I want you now to feel into imagining permission to be who you are and have soulful embodied wisdom guiding your life. Our soul speaks to us. And it's different for everyone. Maybe it speaks to you, maybe you feel it. You just feel the difference between, that hug that you want to be in and that hug you don't want to be in. That's soul's wisdom in your body. That's congruency. I want you to feel into that permission to be who you are and have that soulful, embodied wisdom and guidance in your life. What will the positive benefits of that be for you? Our soul never guides us to stress, ever. It guides us into wholeness, into fullness, into living our potential. Just think about what that would mean for you. And just because we're coming up to a close, I'm going to quickly ask, what would the flow-on benefits be for those around you? So for those of you that have worked one-on-one with me, you know when you come into the wholeness and fullness of you, everyone around you benefits. Everyone around you knows you more, and you're able to know them more. Relationships improve, jobs improve, teams improve, families improve. Like, there is this massive improvement that happens all around you. We start spending our time, energy, money on things that matter to us. We start being the change that we want to see in the world more and more. That's what happens. And so the last question on our worksheet is, if more and more of us are doing this work, if more and more human beings are congruently living, body, mind, heart, and soul, all saying yes, what will the flow-on positive benefits be for our world, this world we're in? And just feel that we're all a really meaningful part of the whole. You're here for a reason. And I believe that the solution to every world problem that we have, the solution is people coming home to the truth of who they are. Because when you follow your guidance, it's individual. The fingerprint of you is needed on planet Earth right now, or you wouldn't be here. That's what I believe. And we've all got a medicine inside of us that the world needs. Now, maybe for you, it's, I see it in so many different places, and diversity is what we need in our world and in our communities. So for me, I'm here to do this work. That's what I'm here for. And I love it. I want to do it. I'm doing it for free in groups like this because I love it. And I've worked with people who, what they love doing is helping people kind of manage their money and feel empowered financially. And so when they follow their wisdom, they're doing that. I've met people who are artists and they're debilitated with anxiety and depression because they're not doing their art. And as soon as we open up that space and they're creating that beauty in the world for the rest of us to enjoy, there's no more symptoms of anxiety and depression. They're being them. Their soul doesn't have to give them that feedback anymore that you're out of alignment. You're out of alignment. You're not honoring you. We need artists in the world. We need scientists in the world. We need people to come up with amazing businesses that solve world problems. We need great leaders. We need people that want to be part of kitchens. We need the dishwasher. We need the chef. We need the cleaner so that we can eat out and connect and eat healthy food or not healthy food. Do you know what I mean? We need everyone following their inspiration is going to solve the problems we've got in our world. It's a huge concept and it's already 12:07. So I might do a whole nother live about why it's important to follow those urgings of your soul because they're there for a reason. But I want you to know that the world needs for you to be you. When it doesn't honor anyone, you not listening to the wisdom of your soul, the secret wish that you've got, the ideas that you've got, you honoring you is going to benefit you and everyone around you as well. So moving towards loving yourself enough. And it's just pivoting. It's just ending that crappy radio station that has you believing the lie that you're anything other than magnificent, and pivoting towards, and what you practice you get better at. So that's it for me. I've gone a few minutes over time. Thank you for staying with me. If you've come in late, please go back from the beginning, download the workbook and get as much as you can out of this time as possible. I'm here with absolute love for you, seeing that divinity that you are, that soulful being that you are, and knowing that you are filled with this need, this ability to love and to ask for what you need and to have the amazing relationships and career and vocation and connection with life that you came here to have. And I want that for you. And I'm here to help. So thank you very much for being here. If this call has triggered something for you, or you think, you know what, it is time for me to get help with this process because we're not meant to be doing it on our own, I'm happy to have a conversation with you about how I can support you. So in the workbook, there's an email address for me, or there's a link to my website where you can book in for a discovery call. They're totally free. It's 45 minutes, you and I talking about your exact circumstances, what's happening for you. And those discovery calls are free because I don't ever want to take on a client that I'm not absolutely convinced that I can help. And so it's to get clear that I can help you and for you to get comfortable that, you know what, yes, this woman has got the tools that I need. So if it's feeling like it's time, for you to be held, to be seen, to be supported, and to shortcut this journey, because that's what coaching does. We can all learn French on our own, but oh my goodness, it's much easier having daily access to a French teacher. Yeah. Then please reach out, and I'm here to help. And for all the rest of you, please stay tuned on the Cultivate Soul Deep Happiness group, and just tag me in any comments in terms of this work. And I'm here to help. So ask whatever you want to ask, and share whatever you want to share, because I would love to hear from you. So thank you for giving me an hour and 10 minutes of your time. Have a glorious, glorious day. And smiles from my heart to yours. Mwah. Thank you. Bye.